Good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Nitin Joshi, Professor Neurology with teaching experience of 25 years working as consultant neurosurgeon in Panvel. Today we'll discuss ureteric reimplantation or ureteroneocystostomy in emergency. Ureteric reimplantation in emergency is required for major injury to lower ureter while performing either URS or while performing gynec surgery like hysterectomy. The commonest clinical situation of injury to lower ureter while performing URS is presence of gross inflammation or edema at site of impaction of stone, so much gross inflammation and edema that even insertion of even finest size glide wire can result into major false passage, or presence of so much gross inflammation or edema at site of impaction of stone that even passage of smallest size ureteroscope can result into avulsion of ureter. The next common clinical situation of injury to lower ureter while performing URS is presence of tight stricture in ureter just distal to impacted ureteric stone. And the cause of tight stricture in ureter is past history of passage of stone or past history of instrumentation like URS or past history of Cox. In case of lower ureteric injury, ureterostomy is not the surgery of choice due to risk of devascularization of lower end of ureter. So in case of lower ureteric injury, reconstructive surgery of choice is ureteric reimplantation, that is ureteroneocystostomy. Ureteric reimplantation is either extravesical or intravesical type, and both can be again refluxing type or non-refluxing type, that is with anti-reflux principles. Depending upon the length of gap to be breached between cut end of ureter and bladder, ureteric reimplantation can be performed alone or along with psoas hitch or along with renal dissensus with inferior nephropexy. This is because ureteric reimplantation alone can breach gap of only 4 cm, while ureteric reimplantation along with psoas hitch can breach additional of 3 to 5 cm of gap, that is total of about 7 cm, while ureteric reimplantation along with renal dissensus with inferior nephropexy can breach the gap of about additional of 7 to 8 centimeter, that is total of about 12 centimeter of gap. So the factors which decide the type of reimplantation are site of ureteric injury, length of defect to be breached between ureter and bladder, mobility of ureter, and thickness and capacity of bladder for SOS need for psoas hitch or Boari flag. Ureteric reimplantation can be performed either on anterior wall of bladder, that is dome of bladder, or ureteric reimplantation can be performed on posterior wall of bladder, that is base of bladder. In case of extravesical type of ureteric reimplantation is done on anterior wall of bladder, that is dome of bladder, while in case of intravesical type of ureteric reimplantation is performed on posterior wall, that is base of bladder. Incision. It can be performed either through lower midline incision or through Gibson incision alone or in combination with financial incision. Gibson incision is along an imaginary line parallel and above line joining anterior superior iliac spine and symphysis pubis. The lateralmost point on the Gibson incision is 2 cm above and 2 cm medial to anterior superior iliac spine. The incision is then carried forward from this lateralmost point to lateralmost border of rectus abdominis muscle, or can be carried forward up to midline. The Gibson incision can be muscle splitting or muscle cutting. Muscle splitting means after incising aponeurotic fibers of external oblique along direction of fibers, which is actually like splitting the fibers, then Even internal oblique and transversus abdominis muscle fibers are also split along the direction of fibers, which is actually perpendicular to line of incision. And the muscle cutting means all the muscles are cut along the line of incision, that is in one layer. For proper exposure of bladder, Gibson incision can be combined with Pfannenstiel incision. As one knows, Pfannenstiel incision is an infraumbilical transverse incision taken along lowest skin crease or Langus line. It is about 2.5 cm above symphysis pubis with slight convexity downwards. The U of Pfannenstiel incision can be extended upwards not only to join Gibson incision but can be extended upwards till kidney is exposed for SOS renal descensus with inferior nephropexy if required. An incision should be such that it should provide excellent exposure of ureter and bladder easily and quickly, and can be extended upward to expose kidney if required. It should allow proper exposure of site of injury. Also, incision should be such that it should allow proper proximal and distal mobilization of ureter and allow tension-free anastomosis between ureter and bladder to achieve continuity. Now, position of patient. For lower midline incision, position of patient is supine with slight head low, while for Gibson incision, position of patient is supine with slight head low with roller kept vertically or longitudinally on affected side between shoulder and flank. This is because one has to open the space and allow falling of the anterior abdominal wall away so as to improve the exposure. Irrespective whether intravesical or extravesical type of ureteric reimplantation, certain steps are common to both. They are insertion of 14 French Foley's catheter under strict aseptic precaution, so as per need bladder can be inflated or deflated intraoperatively. Initially, bladder is made full and periurethral catheter is clamped. This is because in state of full bladder, parietal peritoneum gets reflected directly from fundus or dome of bladder. So, approach to bladder and hence approach to new hiatus becomes extraperitoneal. Majority of times, emergency ureteric reimplantation is performed through lower midline incision with slight head-low position. And as far as possible, operating surgeon stands on opposite side of ureteric reimplantation. Lower midline incision is taken with 20 number blade. Incision is deepened. 2 recti in midline retracted laterally. Then extraperitoneal fat and parietal peritoneum is reflected upwards and medially with wet sponge in sponge and holding forceps. Now, clamp on periurethral catheter is released to deflate bladder. Now it is the time to develop retropubic cave of Retzius and both lateral perivesical spaces by sharp and blunt dissection. Note, more dissection of lateral perivesical space opposite to side of reimplantation of ureter is required. That is, for right-sided ureteric reimplantation, more dissection on left lateral perivesical space is required. For this, sweep the fibrofatty tissue of back of pubic bones, pubic arch and side walls of the pelvic bone. Now, one requires proper development of retroperitoneal space on the side of ureteric reimplantation. For this, one requires initial separation of parietal peritoneum with fascia transversalis from lateral body wall. Then, medial reflection of this separated parietal peritoneum and fascia transversalis, which is achieved by blunt dissection by inserting 2 to 3 wet mobs one after the other. For more medial mobilization of parietal peritoneum, one can identify, isolate, ligate and then cut inferior epigastric artery, which is just medial to the internal ring. In females, one can even cut round ligament of uterus as it emerges from internal ring, while in case of males, vas deferens can be either divided or mobilized inferiorly. Due to proper development of retroperitoneal space, external iliac artery and external iliac vein comes in picture. External iliac artery is situated laterally while external iliac vein is situated medially with respect to external iliac artery. Due to deflation of bladder, identification of ureter becomes easy. In lower course of ureter and hence in lower part of incision, many a times ureter gets reflected medially along with parietal peritoneum. So it is better to identify and isolate ureter at higher level, that is at crossing of iliac vessels, that is site where the external iliac artery crosses over common iliac vein. So crossing of iliac vessels means where the common iliac artery crosses over common iliac vein. Initially ureter is anterior to common iliac artery, then it is common anterior to internal iliac artery, and then anterior to anterior division of internal iliac artery. So initially ureter is anterior to common iliac artery, then anterior to internal iliac artery, then anterior to anterior division of internal iliac artery, and that time the branches of anterior division of the internal iliac artery are medial to the ureter. The common iliac artery arises at the level of L4 vertebra due to bifurcation of abdominal aorta. Common iliac artery runs anterior and lateral to common iliac vein. Common iliac artery runs up to sacroiliac joint, where it bifurcates into external iliac and internal iliac artery. External iliac artery soon leaves pelvis by passing under inguinal ligament as femoral artery, while internal iliac artery descends in front of sacroiliac joint and bifurcates into anterior and posterior division. Branches of anterior division of internal iliac artery gives blood supply to various pelvic organs. Branches of anterior division of internal iliac artery are superior vesical artery, middle rectal artery, inferior vesical artery, obturator artery, internal pudendal artery, and inferior gluteal artery. In female, there will be an additional branch of uterine artery. Posterior to internal iliac artery is thin-walled internal iliac vein. At the level of crossing of iliac vessels, that is where common iliac artery crosses over common iliac vein, ureter is identified. Ureter is identified as whitish tubular, non-branching, non-pulsatile structure with presence of longitudinally running blood vessels in periureter adventitial fatty sheath. Ureter may show peristaltic activity, or peristaltic activity in the ureter can be stimulated by pinching or tapping the ureter. If any doubt, then one can aspirate with needle and syringe to confer presence of urine in the ureter. After identification of ureter, ureter is dissected on either side with vascular tissue forceps and mixture. To isolate the identified ureter, ureter is hooked with infant feeding tube. Depending upon requirement, ureter is mobilized upwards and downwards with its adequate periureteric adventitial fatty sheath. For this, the hooked ureter is lifted from its bed so as to make the holding bands prominent. These holding bands are then cut with tip of blunt tip scissors, and the adventitial tissue is swept towards ureter. In order to preserve vascularity of ureter, principle is not to skeletonize ureter but to skeletonize peritoneum for mobilization of ureter. Lower ureter receives its blood supply through its medial aspect. Blood supply of ureter. There is no definite ureteral artery. Ureter receives multiple branches called segmental or perforating branches from multiple sources. These multiple sources are mostly periureteral sources. These segmental branches divide into ascending and descending branches. These ascending and descending branches anastomose to form plexus in periureteral adventitial fatty sheath. Branches arising from this periureteral adventitial fatty sheath vascular plexus go through seromuscular layer to form one more vascular plexus in submucosa. Through this vascular plexus in submucosa, ureteral mucosa receives its blood supply. Upper ureter receives its blood supply through branches arising from aorta, renal artery, capsular artery of renal artery, and gonadal artery. Mid-ureter receives blood supply through branches from aorta, common iliac artery and branches of internal iliac, particularly superior vesical artery. While lower ureter receives its blood supply through branches of anterior division of internal iliac artery, namely middle rectal artery, inferior gluteal artery, inferior vesical artery, and in case of females, uterine artery. When one starts mobilizing ureter downward, ureter is crossed anteriorly by superior vesical artery. Superior vesical artery is the first branch of anterior division of internal iliac artery. The proximal part of superior vesical artery is patent, while distal part of superior vesical artery towards bladder becomes fibrous and cord-like and is called as medial umbilical ligament. The superior vesical artery is identified, isolated, ligated and cut if required. The rules or dictums during handling of ureter are: there should be minimal handling of ureter. Handling and dissection of ureter should be done gently to prevent compromise of blood supply to ureter. Compromise of blood supply to ureter will cause devascularization of ureter. Devascularization of ureter will result into ischemic necrosis of the ureter. Ischemic necrosis will result either into sloughing of ureter or during healing process it may lead to stenosis or stricture. Ureter should be handled gently with fingers, fine forceps or traction sutures. Ureter should never be grasped with crushing instruments like hemostat. Sharp instruments like 11 number blade, 12 number blade or fine pot scissors are used for incision on ureter to reduce crush injuries at the site of incision and hence preserve blood supply to operative site. Since it is the ureteral adventitia that carries blood supply to ureter, so ureteral adventitia is to be repaired. The small vessels supplying distal ureter should be ligated as far away from the ureter as possible in order not to compromise ureteral artery and ureteral vein. This ureteral artery and ureteral vein runs in periureteric adventitial fatty sheath along the course of ureter. As far as possible, rich vascular supply from gonadal vessels should remain intact and undisturbed. So now ureter is identified, isolated, hooked and mobilized with adequate periureteric adventitial fatty sheath distally till pathology. During mobilization of ureter, periureter adventitial fatty sheath is held with Addison forceps, coagulated and then cut to mobilize the ureter. Dissection is done along the anterior wall of the ureter so as to prevent injury to the pelvic nerve plexus. Before disconnection of ureter at the level of pathology, medial and lateral orientation of ureter is done with two different stay sutures like 3-0 chromic catgut and 3-0 Weichel. At the level of pathology, ureter is disconnected. Lower end of ureter is tied with absorbable suture like 3-0 chromic catgut. After disconnection of ureter, with the help of infant feeding tube, defect is measured between cut end of ureter and new hiatus on bladder. To achieve anti-reflux type of ureteric implantation, one requires 3 to 4 cm of additional length of ureter. Also, whether refluxing or non-refluxing type, one should achieve tension-free anastomosis between ureter and bladder. This is because any tension on anastomosis means stretching of ureter. Stretching of ureter means stretching of ureteral artery. And stretching of ureteral artery results into ischemia. So, ischemic necrosis causing sloughing of ureter or during healing process stenosis or stricture. In proximal cut end of ureter, 5 French infant feeding tube is inserted to make ureter straight, to give wash, to rule out twist or torsion of ureter. During rest of ureteric implantation procedure also, one requires repeated insertion of infant feeding tube to prevent or rule out twist or torsion of ureter. Also, infant feeding tube in ureter helps to spatulate the ureter on its anterior wall or posterior wall. When ureteric implantation is of intravesical type, spatulation is done on the anterior or anterolateral wall of ureter, while when ureteric implantation is of extravesical type, then spatulation is done on posterior or posterolateral wall of ureter. Whether intravesical type or extravesical type of ureteric implantation, Common principles are: hiatus should be wide and extraperitoneal. Distal ureter should have adequate blood supply. There should be tension-free anastomosis between ureter and bladder so as to achieve and stabilize UV junction. If any kink in the ureter, then for proper drainage, ureter should be straightened. When ureter is reimplanted at new site, it should be reimplanted on immobile portion of the bladder. That is, avoid reimplanting on the mobile portion of the bladder. That is, avoid reimplanting on the two lateral aspects of the bladder wall. If hiatus is too lateral on the bladder wall, which is a mobile portion of bladder, then as the bladder fills, the ureter starts getting kinked by expanding bladder. In addition, in case of anti-reflux type, to achieve anti-reflux mechanism, that is flap valve mechanism, principles are: ratio of diameter of ureter to the length of intravesical ureter should be 1:5. Intravesical ureter means intramural and submucosal ureter. Also, submucosal part of the ureter should get firm support from overlying or underlying detrusor muscle. Whether intravesical or extravesical type of ureteric implantation, now the step is that on table, bladder is made full with dilute betadine solution with the help of asepto syringe. Few cc of air is injected. The air bubbles in the bladder can be visualized once bladder is properly exposed. Distended bladder is palpated for adequate distension. Now, process of reimplantation, either extravesical or intravesical, and depending upon whether extravesical or intravesical, now the difference starts. If extravesical type, then again it can be refluxing or non-refluxing. The classical typical is the non-refluxing, that is anti-reflux Leach-Grueger type, where again here now whether it is refluxing or non-refluxing, the site of reimplantation is extraperitoneal, it is on the dome, which is site of hiatus, new hiatus is supromedial to previous hiatus. Along the lie of ureter, new site of hiatus on dome of the bladder is decided. Site of reimplantation on the dome is marked with cautery. Perivesical fat, serosa cut with cautery to expose detrusor muscle. Separation of detrusor muscle done layer by layer with the help of mixture or artery forceps, and then separated detrusor muscle fibers are cut with cautery so as to expose underlying bluish colored mucosa for about length of 4 cm. Incised detrusor muscles are retracted from their edges on the either side at 2 to 3 levels with 3-0 chromic catgut and held with mosquito. There is presence of loose connective areolar tissue between pouting mucosa and detrusor muscle layers. Pouting mucosa is depressed by peanuts so as to properly dissect the detrusor muscle fibers from the mucosa. After incision in the bladder mucosa, there is a risk of retraction or receding of incised bladder mucosa to inaccessible site. And so as to prevent this risk of retraction or receding of bladder mucosa into inaccessible site, before the mucosa is incised, on the either side of proposed incision site, the full thickness suture, that is from mucosa to serosa, sutures are taken on either side with the round body needle. Then the pouting mucosa is perforated and incision is extended. Now the anastomosis will be between the full thickness of the ureter to only mucosa of the bladder, except 2 stitches which will be at the lower end, which are full thickness of the ureter to the full thickness of the bladder. These 2 lower stitches are the anchoring stitches, advancement stitches. Rest of the anastomosis is between the full thickness of the ureter with only bladder mucosa. So the 2 stay sutures are taken. First is from full thickness of the spatulated end of the ureter with the upper end of the bladder mucosal incision, which is held with the stay suture, and the second is the full thickness of ureter with the mucosa of the bladder at the lower end, again held with the stay suture. Now the anastomosis of the wall is completed like vascular anastomosis. After completion of the one wall, then the two stay sutures are rotated, DJ is inserted, and the second wall anastomosis is completed. After completion of anastomosis, two full thickness sutures of figure of 8 are taken. These full thickness sutures are between ureter and full thickness of the bladder. This is to fix the ureter and prevent distraction of the ureter to get pulled out from the tunnel by detrusor contraction. The figure of 8 stitch on the bladder means going from inside out on the bladder, that is from mucosa to serosa. Once you come out, then going from outside in, and again when you come out, that is second time you come out from mucosa to serosa of the bladder, so it becomes a figure of 8. So in short, figure of 8 means inside out stitch on the bladder. Now you have to take the full thickness suture on the ureter, so it will be outside in. Once these stitches are taken at the extreme of the bladder incision, then the anastomosis of both the layers, both the walls are complete. And now after the completion of this anastomosis, separated detrusor is reapproximated with 30 vicryl on round body, either continuous or interrupted, going from distal to proximal. In order to prevent tight compression of ureter, mosquito is inserted between ureter and detrusor. At hiatus level, interrupted stitches are taken between serosa of ureter and serosa of bladder so as to fix ureter to bladder and also give additional support to the ureter and prevent distraction of the ureter by the contraction of detrusor. The 22 French Follis catheter can be inserted as a suprapubic catheter. Then tube drain is inserted and wound is closed in layers. Also, extravesical ureteric implantation can be performed by refluxing type, particularly in adults and when very short length of ureter is available. Here the hiatus will be extraperitoneal, it will be supromedial to the previous hiatus, but the incision required on the detrusor will be smaller. So at the decided site, perivesical fat serosa is incised and the detrusor is incised layer by layer after separating with artery forceps or mixture till bluish colored mucosa is exposed. Since refluxing type of ureteric implantation, the length of incision on detrusor will be only of the size of the ureter, that is diameter of ureter, which is about 7 to 8 mm. This is because additional length of about 3 to 3.5 cm, which is required for creation of tunnel, is not necessary at this type of refluxing type of reimplantation. In order to prevent receding of the mucosa to inaccessible site, again two full thickness stay sutures are taken with round body on either side of proposed incision on bladder mucosa. Once the mucosa is incised, then here now full thickness anastomosis between the ureter and full thickness anastomosis of the bladder, that is at the upper end of the bladder incision, full thickness stitch is taken from serosa to mucosa, that is outside in, and then in the ureter, that is at the spatulated site, inside out, so that the knot is outside. This is the first stay suture, while the other, that is non-spatulated end of the ureter to the full thickness of the bladder, which will be inside out, again the knot will be outside. The stay sutures kept long, then the wall is anastomosed between the ureter and bladder, either interrupted or continuous. After completion of one wall, stay sutures are rotated, DJ is inserted, and after completion of the second, then the interrupted stitches are taken between ureter and the bladder so as to give additional support. These are serosa to serosa, so that it gives additional support to the ureter. If required, 22 French suprapubic catheter can be inserted, tube drain inserted, and wound is closed in layers. In emergency, one can also perform the intravesical type of ureteric implantation, but refluxing variety. Here already the bladder is made full, so two stay sutures are taken on the dome of the bladder, and between these two stay sutures, bladder is opened in anterior midline from dome downwards, extending downwards up to 2 to 3 centimeter above bladder neck by quadrille. After draining the bladder, the inferolateral aspects of the edges of the anterior cystostomy are sutured to anterior rectus sheath. These elevates the bladder base. Then, known number of multiple moist Gamgee pads are placed in dome of bladder, and then they are retracted upwards with DeVos so as to further elevate the base of the bladder. Due to elevation of base of bladder, the trigone is flattened and tense, so there will be adequate exposure of the base of the bladder. After retractors are inserted into bladder, it is important to avoid overstretching of lower aspect of anterior cystostomy. This is because overstretching of the anterior cystostomy may result into extension of incision into bladder neck. There should be minimum handling of the bladder with sponges, forceps or suction so as to reduce edema and bleeding. Creation of new hiatus should be supromedial to previous hiatus. The new hiatus is created by passing right angled artery forceps from inside of the bladder towards the posterior wall of the bladder. On the artery forceps, with 11 number blade wall is incised and then dilated adequately by opening the blades of right angled artery forceps wide enough to accommodate ureter. Incomplete separation of detrusor can cause kinking or angulation of ureter and hence obstruction. So incising a few millimeter of lower end of hiatus may be beneficial. Lower end of ureter is brought into bladder through new hiatus with the help of two sutures. While bringing the ureter through new hiatus, twisting of ureter may occur. So initial proper medial and lateral orientation of ureter is essential. Also, find 5 French or 6 French infant feeding tube is passed intermittently to rule out obstruction. Inability to pass infant feeding tube up smoothly indicates twist or torsion, and so warrants re-examination of course of ureter. After bringing the ureter into bladder through new hiatus and confirming absence of twist or torsion, the lower end of ureter is freshened and then anastomosed to the bladder. Here it is full thickness of ureter to the full thickness of bladder. The full thickness of the non-spatulated wall of the ureter to the full thickness of the bladder by interrupted 3 to 4 stitches with 30 Vicryl. Exactly opposite to this, that is at the site of entry of ureter through hiatus, again there will be full thickness ureter to the full thickness of the bladder where there is spatulated aspect of the ureteral wall. Once this anastomosis is complete, then the rest of the anastomosis is between the full thickness of the ureter to bladder mucosa. To provide additional support to the ureter and preventing distraction of the ureter due to detrusor contraction, 2 to 3 interrupted stitches between serosa of ureter and serosa of the bladder are taken. 6 French 26 DJ is inserted on glide wire. 22 French suprapubic catheter inserted. Anterior cystostomy is closed in 2 layers with Vicryl 30 and 20. Watertight closure of the anterior cystostomy is confirmed by light bladder wash. Tube drain is inserted and wound is closed in layers. Thank you very much.